Please be seated. Good morning. I'm Dr. Jim Brick, Interim Dean of the West Virginia University School of Medicine. On behalf of the faculty and staff of the School of Medicine, I'd like to welcome you all to the class of 2010, our honored guests, your parents, your spouses, other family members and friends, and alumni who are joining us here today, members of the university community. Welcome to the 49th School of Medicine Annual Investiture Ceremony and the 141st University Commencement of West Virginia University. Before I get any further, I'd like to thank all of you out there in the audience, particularly the families. Stand up and give yourself a hand. You deserve it. Each of the people you see on this stage today is in an important role in the education of this class. I will ask each individual to stand and remain standing as I call your name. Will the audience please hold your applause until all have been recognized? Joining us today, representing President Clements, is Dr. Chris Kalinda, my boss, the Chancellor for Health Sciences. Representing the WVU Board of Governors is Dr. Tom Clark. We are also honored today by the presence of several members of the Health Sciences Center administrative team. Dr. Clark Hansberger, Associate Vice President from the Charleston Division. Dr. Mitch Jakes, Dean and Associate Vice President of the Eastern Division. Dr. Jim O'Donnell, Associate Vice President for Research in the Health Sciences, Assistant Dean for Research in the School of Medicine. Dr. Fred L. Manier, Assistant Vice President for Graduate Education in the Health Sciences and Assistant Dean for Graduate Studies in the School of Medicine and Director of our MD-PhD program. Dr. Norman Ferrari III, Senior Associate Dean for Medical Education. Dr. Ann Cather, Associate Dean for Student Services and Professional Development. Dr. Rosemarie Canarelli Lorenzetti, Assistant Dean in the Eastern Division. Dr. James P. Griffith, Associate Dean for Student Services in the Charleston Division. And Dr. James Shumway, Associate Dean for Medical Education. Please be seated. Every day, these folks do the important work that makes it possible for these students to gain admission, meet our requirements and graduate, and advance our research programs. They preserve the quality of our programs and assure our continuous accreditation, and they balance our budget and improve and preserve our facilities. Thank you all very much. Representing the thousands of alumni across the state of West Virginia and the nation is Kathy Funk Morris in the class of 1998. President of the WVU School of Medicine Alumni Association, this is a group we depend upon greatly for wise counsel and support. Representing our teaching hospitals is Mr. Bruce McClymans, President and CEO of West Virginia University Hospitals. Without these hospitals, there could be no medical school. They provide a place for our students to learn side by side with our faculty, and they also provide substantial financial support to the school. Representing University Health Associates is Dr. Gary Morano, the Chief Medical Officer. Through UHA, our faculty provide health care to untold numbers of West Virginians and others every year. The revenue from that care is the main financial support of the school. More than half of the School of Medicine budget comes from University Health Associates. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize the chairs of the various departments in the School of Medicine or their representatives. A medical school is a very complex institution. Each of these chairs has responsibility for a department of many faculty members. Our school faculty is larger than most West Virginia colleges and universities. And they teach not only our medical students, but students from several other health professions disciplines. And they run a large research program and provide health care for many, many people. I will call the chairs' names and ask them to stand briefly. I ask that you hold your applause until everybody's been introduced. First, Dr. Richard Driver from the Department of Anesthesia. Dr. Jim Stevenson from the Department of Behavioral Medicine and Psychiatry, who graduated from medical school at WVU 40 years ago today in this same room, and who was my professor of psychiatry. Dr. Lisa Salati of our Department of Biochemistry. Dr. Rob Gerbo from the Department of Community Medicine. Dr. Todd Crocco from the Department of Emergency Medicine. Dr. Jim Arbogast from the Department of Family Medicine. Dr. Kevin Halbritter from the Department of Internal Medicine. Dr. John Barmett from the Department of Microbiology, Immunology, and Cell Biology. Dr. Holly Recitar from the Department of Neurobiology and Anatomy. Dr. John Brick from the Department of Neurology. Dr. Joe Volker from the Department of Neurosurgery. And Dr. Michael Steitley from the Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology. Dr. Judy Charlton from the Department of Ophthalmology. Dr. John France from the Department of Orthopedics. Dr. Steve Wetmore from the Department of Otolaryngology. Dr. Peter Perota from the Department of Pathology. Dr. Mark Pollock from the Department of Pediatrics. Dr. Bob Goodman from the Department of Physiology and Pharmacology. Dr. Robert Tallickson from the Department of Radiology, and Dr. Rick Vaughn from the Department of Surgery. Of course, these chairs would not be able to accomplish their task without a strong and diverse faculty. The faculty of the School of Medicine is really the heart of this institution. It is these physicians and scientists that have worked one-on-one with this year's class to bring them to this day. They're the backbone of this school. Will all faculty members please rise and be recognized? Thank you all for what you've done for this class and for all our students and what you do every day for the people of West Virginia. I would also like to recognize our other associate deans and administrators seated with the faculty in the audience. Linda Nine, who's Vice President for Health Sciences Alumni Affairs, and Dr. Scott Cottrell, Assistant Dean for Medical Education in the Eastern Division. I'd now like to introduce Dr. Chris Kalinda, Chancellor for Health Sciences.
Good morning. I want to first and foremost thank you for attending this wonderful celebration of the achievements of the class of 2010 behind us. And for the class of 2010, I extend my personal congratulations, but I also think that you need to stand and congratulate the people who got you here. Please rise and congratulate the folks who are your best and most loyal supporters. This was a momentous year for healthcare. Healthcare reform is now upon us, and how we look at healthcare into the future, the class of 2010 will be at the vanguard of a new and uncertain future in healthcare. But we do know that it is a promising moment, a moment of optimism, a moment in which we can perhaps begin to start thinking about healthcare parity for individuals who have historically been left out of the healthcare delivery system. And these young folks, as they move through their residency training experiences into fellowship and on into practice, will be our best representatives to the world of medicine and the world of healthcare. But some things don't change. Our fundamental core values that motivate us is to serve. Our responsibilities are to our patients first. We have a responsibility to society and to the communities in which we live and practice. And it's our duty, our solemn duty, to maintain the ethical standards of the professions that we have chosen. Our commitment is to science. Our commitment is to clinical competence and scientific integrity. You have what it takes to get you here, but I want you to remember the ethical and professional standards of which you will be participating in as you say the Hippocratic Oath later this morning. The values that we aspire to will be forever what we are known for. So I hope that as you maintain your clinical practice and your future, that you will maintain a positive self-image without malignant narcissism. Okay. Service to the core values of what we mean in terms of health professions. Maintain the personality traits of humility, empathy, and self-awareness and self-reflection. Maintain your moral integrity, complemented by cultural competence for the patients that you will serve, and the personal motivation that distinguishes you from being an average performer to an excellent performer. And one of the things that I think you had in your graduation package was a coin. How many have seen that? Did you receive the coins? Okay. Now, the history of coins and medallions are very interesting from the perspective of what they symbolically mean. We are celebrating the 50th year of the Health Science Center being located here in a single entity here in Morgantown on what we call the Hill. And coins were part of a long military tradition that were given to units that allowed members of that units to be able to communicate through silent means to say if you had a coin that you were able to recognize your fellow member of the unit without having to signal unnecessarily in times of distress that you were a member of friend or foe. We've commissioned a coin that celebrates the 50th anniversary of the founding of the Health Science Center campus, and we're giving it to all of our graduates in the Health Science Center this year. Now, while the coin had very important meaning in military tradition, it has evolved over the years. So the evolution of this, even within the military tradition, is that when you go to a reunion or when you go to an event where you might see a fellow classmate, always have your coin. For those classmates, you ask if you have your coin. For those who don't have your coin, guess what you get to do? Buy their drinks. All right? We hope, though, that this becomes a memento that you will cherish as you go through your subsequent years of graduation. I fully expect all of you to be back here at your 50th anniversary so that you'll have a 100th edition of the coin for West Virginia University Health Sciences. So live encouraged and transformed lives. Best wishes to you. Know that your families love you. They're the most important things that you have in life. And go forth and be happy. Thank you.
hard to twist this thing with a bad finger. First, congratulations to every one of you all. Our new graduates, your moms, your dads, families, and friends. I believe graduation from this medical school with an MD or a PhD is first and foremost about family. 33 years ago, my mom and dad, my aunts and my uncles assembled in this same room to help invest me with the honor and authority of being a physician. As my other family, the faculty of this medical school, looked on. And I know how proud my folks and the faculty were because they told me. And today, I know exactly what they were feeling, because that's how I feel right now looking at every one of you all. Every generation of doctors, every graduating class faces a certain set of conditions in their future professional life. It's your moment in history. Some of what's ahead nobody can possibly say. There are going to be fantastic cures. There are also going to be epidemics. Who knows how many? But some parts of your future, your professional future, are very clear. For one thing, a lot of your patients are going to be baby boomers, just like me. And there's a lot of us. And we're not a bit happy about getting older. But we're going to be around for a long time, I hope. Try and enjoy us. Learn something from us. Take an interest in the 1960s and the 1970s. I want you to learn all the words to the Beach Boys songs. There will be a test. In my professional lifetime, the technological advances I've seen have been amazing. And this progress is going to continue. But we can't expect to just impress our patients with new toys. Remember, x-rays were a really big deal one time. They're not now. Patients are starting to take advanced technology for granted. The new frontier for you all is going to be quality. Yours is the first generation of physicians whose entire careers will be publicly monitored and reported on for the quality of your patient outcomes. People are going to go online and see how well you stack up against your competition. Try to think of this. It's hard, but try to think of it as a good thing. The other new frontier for all of you is going to be ethics. You're going to be able to do things that previous generations of doctors and scientists could hardly imagine. Now, I'm not just talking about 100-year-old women having babies and putting tuna hearts in Olympic swimmers, but the ethical dilemmas you face are going to be unprecedented. All I can advise you is don't flinch. Your job as a doctor is to help your patients face reality and face facts squarely. On the happier side, the paperwork blizzard in medicine may have peaked. Between the advances in the paperless electronic medical record and the desire of nearly everybody, except the insurance companies, to make the bureaucratic side of medicine simpler and cheaper, things have got to get better. The system we will get won't be perfect, but it'll be better than the one we've got now. Trust me, it has to be. I want you to remember what the meaning of the word doctor was originally. Originally, it meant teacher. Remember that the best teachers never stop learning themselves. I want you to commit to being a lifelong learner. And you already know why. Medicine changes all the time. Things have changed a lot since you started medical school, and they've changed a whole lot since I started medical school. And they're going to continue to change. Doctors who don't keep up aren't doing the best for their patients. And I hope and trust you've learned the importance of lifelong learning. And if you're practicing anywhere near WVU, we'll help you with that. The future is going to bring wonderful things I can only dream of. Promise yourself that you will strike a balance, that you'll take care of yourself and your loved ones first. Take time for your family and friends. You got to have some fun, because it's not just for yourself, and it's not even just for your family and friends. It's for your patients too. You'll be a much better doctor if you can live a balanced life. Many of y'all have heard me speak of one of my teachers, Dr. Ed Flake, who was one of the founding fathers of this medical school. And if he were here, he would want me to make sure that you got 3 other messages. First, there's a great secret known to those of us who care for patients as a career, but still hidden from the general public. And that secret is that most things get better by themselves. Most things, in fact, are better by morning. Ask your mom. The next message he'd want you to hear is that the oath that you take today is ancient, but it is as relevant today as it ever was. And it's going to be even more relevant tomorrow. This morning, as you take that oath, I want you to listen to the words. This isn't the first time you've taken it, and it's not the last time you'll take it. Never miss an opportunity to renew it. When you've been a doctor as long as I have, every time you do, you'll remember this day, and a chill will go up your spine. The first part of this oath is the ground rules of the profession you are joining. Everyone in this profession must be a teacher and share your knowledge with others in the profession for the rest of your days. The second part that students were required to take before seeing patients is an encapsulated form of the ethics of medicine. This is how you must deport yourselves professionally for the rest of your life. Nothing you can do in your life as a doctor will steady you as much as remembering these words. Carry it with you always, along with the advice you've heard so many times before. And this is Dr. Flink's third message. The secret of the care of the patient is to care for the patient. Congratulations, good luck, and Godspeed. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Gianna Lee Nestor singing My Home Among the Hills, composed in 1963 in honor of West Virginia's centennial by Clarksburg native Mr. E.W. James, Jr.
There's a land of rolling mountains where the sky is blue above, and though I may roam, I hurry home to the friendly hills I love. Where the moonlit meadows ring with the call waterfalls and mountain rills. My heart will be always in the West Virginia hills. Their autumn hillsides are bright with scarlet trees, and in the spring the robins sing, while apple blossoms whisper in the breeze. And there is music in the flashing streams, and joy in the fields of daffodils. Laughter through the happy valleys of my home among the hills.
I now ask Dr. Kalinda to lead the conferral of the Doctor of Philosophy degrees.
Thank you, Dr. Brick. Will the candidates for the degrees of Doctor of Philosophy please rise? The doctoral degree has always been considered the most significant achievement in preparation for an active career in scholarship, teaching, and research. The requirements set by American universities for the attainment of the doctoral degree all have unique experiences and challenges designed to produce a scholar, a teacher, and a researcher with recognized competence in a chosen field. The successful candidate for the doctorate is then considered prepared to undertake a career of scholarship, teaching, research, and service to society. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the West Virginia University Board of Governors, I hereby confer upon you the degrees for which you have been recommended, with all the rights, honors, and privileges appertaining thereto. Congratulations. You may be seated.
Dr. Jim O'Donnell, Associate Vice President and Assistant Dean for Research and Graduate Studies, now will present the Doctor of Philosophy candidates for their investing of the Doctor of Philosophy hoods. Dr. Fred L. Manier, Dean for Graduate Studies in the School of Medicine, will assist with the hooding. The candidates will be hooded by their faculty advisors. The Chancellor will confer upon each student a scroll on which is printed the ethical affirmation of scientists.
Dean Brick, Chancellor Kalinda, honored guests, faculty, graduates, ladies and gentlemen. Today we confer the degree of Doctor of Philosophy in recognition of students' accomplishments in academics and research. The road to completion of the PhD degree often is not a straight or predictable one. When students start graduate training at WVU, they begin a transition from classroom-based learning to laboratory-based learning and discovery. And these laboratories can take different forms, from traditional lab benches to hospitals and clinics, and to places where people gather for work and other interests. The students must become experts in their chosen fields and the use of experimental tools on which they rely. The students who are receiving their PhD degrees have formed close associations with individual faculty members at WVU. They have served scientific apprenticeships under the mentorships of these faculty members. This is a complex and important relationship that is lifelong. Through this relationship, one progresses from student to scientist, The process by which this is achieved is unique for every student and faculty member. Those receiving the PhD degree have not only become experts in their chosen field of research, but they have learned to collaborate in their work, to communicate and interact with the larger scientific community, and to simultaneously remain both curious and skeptical. Most importantly, each of those who are receiving a PhD degree has made a significant scientific discovery. This is a central requirement for the degree. Examples of these discoveries are understanding of how environmental toxins affect the immune system, the protein machinery that allows cells in the retina to detect light, and by the means by which aging affects muscle function. Those receiving their PhD degrees today will embark on a period of additional fellowship training to complete their transition to independent scientists. Much as our MD graduates are transitioning to their medical residencies for advanced clinical training. It's fitting that our MD and PhD graduates share a stage today, since their lives will be entwined much more than those who sat on a similar stage a generation ago. Much is changing in both healthcare and the biomedical sciences. While most of what has been presented publicly about the new healthcare reform legislation has involved insurance coverage and financial issues, it also addresses important philosophical issues relevant to disease prevention and treatment. Central concepts are that the practice of medicine must continue to be based on sound scientific evidence, that scientific discoveries be translated to the clinic, and that methods of disease prevention and treatment be subjected to rigorous scientific evaluation. These efforts will require that biomedical scientists have a fuller understanding of the clinical issues and that physicians more fully understand the science supporting their clinical specialty. I believe that during their respective careers, today's PhDs and MD graduates, the line between researcher and physician will be blurred and may well disappear. We are pleased today that 7 of our PhD degree recipients are with us. 5 others receiving PhD degrees have already begun their postdoctoral training at other universities and could not be here. I will now read the name of each PhD degree recipient and their faculty mentor. The topic of each student's dissertation research is identified in the program. Will all PhD degree recipients please rise? The first PhD recipient is Kelly Margaret Kavanaugh Bailey, a joint MD PhD student. Dr. Bailey will be hooded by her advisor, Dr. Jun Liu, Associate Professor of Physiology and Pharmacology. The next PhD recipient is Allison Bloom Cohen. Dr. Cohen will be hooded by her advisor, Dr. Lisa Salati, Professor of Biochemistry. The next PhD degree recipient is Tricia L. Lewis. Dr. Lewis will be hooded by her advisor, Dr. John Barnett, Professor and Chair of Microbiology, Immunology, and Cell Biology. The next PhD recipient is Heather Ann O'Leary. Dr. O'Leary will be hooded by her advisor, Dr. Laura Gibson, Professor of Microbiology, Immunology, and Cell Biology. The next PhD recipient is Michael James Ryan. Dr. Ryan will be hooded by his advisor, Dr. Stephen Alway, Professor and Chair of Exercise Physiology. The next PhD recipient is Hongman Song. Dr. Song will be hooded by her advisor, Dr. Maxim Sokolov, Assistant Professor of Ophthalmology. The next PhD recipient is Callie McConnell Walsh. Dr. Walsh will be hooded by her advisor, Dr. Lisa Salati, Professor of Biochemistry. Will the audience please join me in collectively congratulating these graduates who have been awarded the PhD degree. You may be seated. It is now my pleasure to introduce Dr. Callie Walsh, a member of the PhD class of 2010, who will speak on behalf of her fellow PhD recipients. Dr. Walsh.
Good morning. It's with great honor that I speak to you, my fellow graduates, professors, families, and friends. We gather here this morning to mark many milestones. First, we now officially are recognized as doctors. Second, we are no longer considered students, but we are now scientists. Third, this day commemorates several years of hard work and determination that have resulted in personal growth. For we have not been taught what to think, but how to think. We have had to recognize and tackle our weaknesses. Without the support of our mentors, colleagues, family, and friends, these milestones wouldn't have been possible. We appreciate your being here to help us celebrate these achievements. To conclude, I'd like to leave you with these wishes for the future, fellow graduates. May we never lose our sense of curiosity about the unknown. May we encourage and strengthen our current and future mentees. May we remain enthusiastic in our scientific careers, no matter how uncertain times may be. May we continue to teach and serve others in science and in other aspects of life. And finally, may we always remember why we endeavored to become scientists. Thank you, and good luck.
It's an honor to represent the faculty and administration in leading our PhD graduates in reciting the ethical affirmation for scientists. We believe this affirmation is unique to our campus. It was written by Drs. Robert Craig, Ann Cather, and James Culbertson, all outstanding faculty members in the School of Medicine. Its publication in the journal Science in 2003 brought international recognition for our university and its PhD programs. As new biomedical scientists, it is appropriate for you to take a few minutes and contemplate some of the ethical demands you will be facing. There will be immense pressure to succeed. You experience intense competition for research funds, and you may encounter questions of authorship on manuscripts. You will be faced with conflicts of interests or conflicts of commitment. You may be faced with conflicts of an ethical nature. This ethical affirmation you are about to repeat represents what you, as scientists, should strive for throughout your career. At this time, would our PhD graduates please stand? I also invite all scientists on stage and in the audience to stand and repeat the ethical affirmation along with our graduates. Please repeat after me. As I embark on my career as a biomedical scientist, I willingly pledge that I will honorably represent my scientific profession that I will conduct my research and my professional life in a manner that is always above reproach, and that I will seek to incorporate the body of ethics and moral principles that constitute scientific integrity into all that I do. I will strive always to ensure that the results of my research and other scientific activities ultimately benefit humanity and that they cause no harm. With this affirmation, I pledge to acknowledge and honor the contributions of scientists who have preceded me to seek truth and the advancement of knowledge in all my work, and to become a worthy role model, deserving of respect by those who follow me. Thank you. You may be seated. Dr. Kalinda will now lead the conferral of the Doctor of Medicine degree.
Thank you, Dr. O'Donnell. Will the candidates for the Doctor of Medicine degree please rise? Candidates from the School of Medicine, your field is one of great dignity that demands the respect of your fellow citizens. It also requires constant learning. The medical profession has demonstrated great progress in service and research into human physical and mental well-being. WVU has always acknowledged the health as a basic value in our society. As you enter into the profession of great responsibility, I trust that you will hold foremost in your thoughts and plans that the patients you serve and the people of West Virginia will require your greatest skills and services. You have been well prepared by your education at WVU to assume your new responsibilities. The School of Medicine's exceptionally well-qualified faculty members have given you the intellectual challenges and rigorous educational experiences that will enable you to serve your patients with sensitivity, empathy, and skill. By virtue of the authority invested in me by the West Virginia University Board of Governors, I hereby confer upon you the degrees for which you have been recommended, with all the rights, honors, and privileges appertaining thereto. Congratulations.
Dr. James Shumway, Associate Dean for Medical Education, will now present the Doctor of Medicine candidates for their investing of their Doctor of Medicine hoods. Dr. Rosemarie Canarella Lorenzetti and Ann Cather and Dr. Norman Ferrari and Dr. James Griffin will assist with the hooding. Today, 32 of our graduates will be hooded by family and faculty members, of whom 15 are graduates of the West Virginia University School of Medicine. These guest participants will include moms, dads, spouses, and siblings who are also physicians. Chancellor Kalinda will confer each student with a scroll on which is printed the Oath of Hippocrates.
Thanks. That's perfect. Thanks, Chris. Thank you, first row, for rising. John Edward Adams, Emergency Medicine, Pitt County Memorial Hospital, Brody School of Medicine, Greenville, North Carolina. Hooded by Dr. G. Ann Cather, class of 1983, Associate Dean, Morgantown Campus. Simon Levi Amsdell, Orthopedic Surgery, University of Rochester, Strong Memorial Hospital, Rochester, New York. Hooded by Dr. Norman Ferrari, class of 1982, Senior Associate Dean, Morgantown Campus. Mirza Salman A. Beg, Psychiatry, University of Tennessee College of Medicine, Memphis, Tennessee. Hooded by his mother, Dr. Nusra Beg. Kelly Margaret Kavanaugh Bailey, Pediatrics, University of Michigan, C.S. Mott Children's Hospital, Ann Arbor, Michigan. Hooded by her husband, Dr. Nathaniel Bailey, class of 2005. Michael Ballesteri, Obstetrics and Gynecology, University of Wisconsin Hospitals and Clinics, Madison, Wisconsin, hooded by Dr. G. Ann Cather. Brianna Renee Bender, Internal Medicine and Pediatrics, University of Tennessee College of Medicine, Memphis, Tennessee, hooded by Dr. James Griffith, class of 1985, Associate Dean, Charleston Division. Christian Elizabeth Biggers, Internal Medicine, Carilion Clinic, Virginia Tech Carilion School of Medicine, Roanoke, Virginia, hooded by her fiancé, Dr. Nicholas Saeed, class of 2008. Lauren Renee Bigley, Ophthalmology, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by her brother, Dr. Joel Bigley, class of 2007. Natalie Steele Bradford, Internal Medicine, Medical University of South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, hooded by her parents, Drs. Ruby Grimm, class of 1975, and Dr. James Bradford. William Lawrence Bragg, Anesthesiology, University of Virginia, Charlottesville, Virginia, hooded by his sister, Dr. Elizabeth Alexis Bragg, class of 2007. Cara Marita Bryan, Diagnostic Radiology, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by Dr. Norman Ferrari. Ryan Michael Carr, Pathology, Ohio State University Medical Center, Columbus, Ohio, hooded by Dr. Ann Cather. Meredith Joe Cavalier, Emergency Medicine, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by Dr. Norman Ferrari. Megan Michelle Cicchini, Surgery, Virginia Mason Medical Center, Seattle, Washington, hooded by Dr. James Griffith. Karthik Kumar Chawla, Internal Medicine, University of Illinois College of Medicine, Chicago, Illinois, hooded by his father, Dr. Koshor Chawla. All right, we're going to get this right. Benny Yi Chung Chong, Surgery, Charleston Area Medical Center, Charleston, West Virginia, hooded by Dr. Damian Maxwell, Department of Surgery, Charleston Division. David Russell Clopton, Diagnostic Radiology, University of Virginia, Charlottesville, Virginia, hooded by Dr. Ann Cather. Joshua Morgan Cusick Lewis, Family Medicine, Charleston Area Medical Center, Charleston, West Virginia, hooded by Dr. Rachel Abraham, Department of Community Medicine, Morgantown Campus. Christopher Russell Deskins, Pediatrics, University of Pittsburgh Medical Center Medical Education Program, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, hooded by Dr. Norman Ferrari. Daniel Robert DeJoven, Diagnostic Radiology, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by his brother-in-law, Dr. Joel Bigley. Joseph Harry Donahue, Diagnostic Radiology, University of Virginia, Charlottesville, Virginia, hooded by Dr. Robert Tollekson, Department of Radiology, Morgantown Campus. Kristen Elizabeth Dragan, Surgery, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by Dr. Ann Cather. Christopher Eric Estel, Internal Medicine and Pediatrics, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by Dr. Norman Ferrari. Adam Wayne Ferris, Anesthesiology, University of Alabama Medical Center at Birmingham, Alabama, hooded by Dr. Sharon Hanlon, class of 1999, Departments of Internal Medicine and Psychiatry, Charleston Division. James Conrad Field, participating in the 2011 match, hooded by Dr. Rosemarie Canarella Lorenzetti, class of 1979, Assistant Dean for Student Services, Eastern Division. Rupin Elizabeth Fisher, Internal Medicine and Pediatrics, University of Alabama Medical Center, Birmingham, Alabama, hooded by Dr. Sharon Hanlon. Mohammed Anis Gabra, Internal Medicine, Wayne State University School of Medicine, Detroit, Michigan, hooded by his father, Dr. Nabil Gabra. Scott Allen Gilchrist, Psychiatry, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by Dr. Ann Cather. Warren Lee Grace III, Anesthesiology, The Ohio State University Medical Center, Columbus, Ohio, hooded by Dr. James Griffith. John C. Hagedorn II, Orthopedic Surgery, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by Dr. Norman Ferrari. Gregory H. Hale, Orthopedic Surgery, Virginia Commonwealth University Health System, Richmond, Virginia, hooded by Dr. James Griffith. Ryan Christopher Hall, Internal Medicine and Pediatrics, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by Dr. Norman Ferrari. Brent Stephen Hardman, Internal Medicine and Emergency Medicine, Allegheny General Hospital, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, hooded by Dr. James Griffith. Nathan Russell Harper, Internal Medicine and Psychiatry, Pitt County Memorial Hospital, Brody School of Medicine, Greenville, North Carolina, hooded by Dr. James Griffith. Brian Philip Hendren, Surgery, Memorial Health University Medical Center, Savannah, Georgia, hooded by Dr. James Griffith. Ashley Ann Hildebrand, Family Medicine, Image Family Medicine, Hillcrest Medical Center, Tulsa, Oklahoma, hooded by Dr. Rosemarie Canarella Lorenzetti. Isaac Kenneth Hurst, Internal Medicine, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by his uncle, Dr. Michael Hurst. Michael Jason Hushen, Internal Medicine, University of Virginia, Charlottesville, Virginia, hooded by Dr. Ann Cather. Matthew Anthony Joseph, Internal Medicine, University of Pittsburgh Medical Center Medical Education Program, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, hooded by Dr. Rosemarie Canarella Lorenzetti. Joy Janine Juskowicz, Surgery, Jackson Memorial Hospital, Miami, Florida, hooded by Dr. Magesh Sundaram, Department of Surgery, Morgantown campus. Sarah Elena Cottom, Anesthesiology, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by Dr. Norman Ferrari. Nicholas G. Calathas, Emergency Medicine, York Hospital, York, Pennsylvania, hooded by Dr. Rosemarie Canarella Lorenzetti. Brian Marshall Kellermeyer, otolaryngology, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by his father, Dr. William Frederick Kellermeyer, class of 1970, and his father-in-law, Dr. George Corrine. Ryan Christopher Kennedy, internal medicine, University of Kentucky Medical Center, Lexington, Kentucky, hooded by his father, Dr. Christopher John Kennedy. Paul Adib Khalil, pediatrics, Miami Children's Hospital, Miami, Florida, hooded by his mother, Dr. Marcia Bond Khalil, class of 1976. Rebecca Ann Kajanka, obstetrics and gynecology, Western Pennsylvania Hospital, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, hooded by Dr. Michael Steitley, Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, Morgantown campus. Alan Klinkachorn, internal medicine and pediatrics, Case Western Metro Health Medical Center, Cleveland, Ohio, hooded by his mother, Dr. Penprapa Klinkachorn. Mark Wayne Nestrick, Jr., internal medicine, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by Dr. James Griffith. Jennifer Lynn Kay, diagnostic radiology, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by her father, Dr. Jack Kay. Natalie Page Allen Kreitzer, emergency medicine, University Hospital, University of Cincinnati, College of Medicine, Cincinnati, Ohio, hooded by Dr. Maria Marzuk, Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, Morgantown campus. Trapper Adam James Lawley, orthopedic surgery, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by Dr. Ann Cather. Ashley Nicole Lattis, internal medicine, Medical University of South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, hooded by her uncle, Dr. Derek Lattis, class of 1972. Jennifer M. Leidy, pathology, University of Massachusetts Medical School, Worcester, Massachusetts, hooded by her father, Dr. John W. Leidy. Allison Aaron Lowe, pediatrics, UCLA Medical Center, Los Angeles, California, hooded by her grandfather, Dr. Michael Crack. Sharon R. Moss, family medicine, Albany Medical Center, Albany, New York, hooded by Dr. Ann Cather. Kyle Philip Macaluso, Anesthesiology, The Ohio State University Medical Center, Columbus, Ohio, hooded by Dr. Sharon Hanlon. Macy Ann Martinson, Internal Medicine, University of Utah Health Sciences Center, Salt Lake City, Utah, hooded by Dr. James Griffith. Christopher William Mercer, Pediatrics, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by his father, Dr. William C. Mercer, class of 1979. Bethany Ann Morris, Physical Medicine and Rehabilitation, University of Louisville School of Medicine, Louisville, Kentucky, hooded by her father, Dr. Samuel David Morris, class of 1980. Samuel Ryan Morris, Internal Medicine, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by his father, Dr. Samuel David Morris. I'd like to have three of them to have a picture together. Tad Dilip Nair, Internal Medicine, University of Virginia, Charlottesville, Virginia, hooded by Dr. James Griffith. Alex Michael Ng, Internal Medicine, Charleston Area Medical Center, Charleston, West Virginia, hooded by his brother, Dr. Jason Ng, class of 2004. Mahesh Padmanabhan, Internal Medicine, Charleston Area Medical Center, Charleston, West Virginia, hooded by his father, Ramanathan Padmanabhan. Christina Lee Pastuch, Internal Medicine and Pediatrics, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by Dr. Ann Cather. Chirag Ramesh Patel, Diagnostic Radiology, Grand Rapids Medical Education, Grand Rapids, Michigan, hooded by Dr. James Griffith. Shiel Anil Patel, Anesthesiology, Rush University Medical Center, Chicago, Illinois, hooded by his father, Dr. Anil Patel, and uncle, Dr. Prakash Patel. Nicholas Rice Phillips, Emergency Medicine, Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, hooded by his sister, Dr. Misha Lee Phillips Lee, class of 2007. Jared Lee Pomeroy, Neurology, University of Maryland Medical Center, Baltimore, Maryland, hooded by Dr. Norman Ferrari. Chase Winkler Ransom, Surgery, Marshall University School of Medicine, Huntington, West Virginia, hooded by his father, Dr. David Ranson, class of 1981. Ashley Elizabeth Rawson, plastic surgery, University of Kentucky Medical Center, Lexington, Kentucky, hooded by Dr. Ann Cather. Jesse Adams Richards, anesthesiology, The Ohio State University Medical Center, Columbus, Ohio, hooded by his uncle, Dr. David Fox. Jeffrey Michael Richmond, psychiatry, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by Dr. Norman Ferrari. Michael Kyle Ritchie, transitional year, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by his uncle, Dr. Jack Chambers. C.R. Christopher Randall Broerbaugh, family medicine, Madigan Army Medical Center, Tacoma, Washington, hooded by Dr. Rosemarie Canarella Lorenzetti. David Matthew Romano, orthopedic surgery, William Beaumont Army Medical Center, El Paso, Texas, hooded by Dr. Norman Ferrari. Michael Robert Ruffalo, orthopedic surgery, Carolinas Medical Center, Charlotte, North Carolina, hooded by his father, Dr. Robert Ruffalo. Andrew Michael Schmidt, family medicine, Washington Hospital, Washington, Pennsylvania, hooded by Dr. Ann Cather. Lucas John Shuttler, emergency medicine, New York Hospital Medical Center, Queens, Flushing, New York, hooded by Dr. Rosemarie Canarella Lorenzetti. Erica Brooks Smith, obstetrics and gynecology, Western Pennsylvania Hospital, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, hooded by Dr. Maureen Hashmi, Departments of Obstetrics and Gynecology, Morgantown campus. Mark Cody Smith, pediatrics, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by Dr. Ann Cather. Sarah Catherine Stewart, pediatrics, Charleston Area Medical Center, Charleston, West Virginia, hooded by Dr. Norman Ferrari. Krista Dawn Stoops, psychiatry, Charleston Area Medical Center, Charleston, West Virginia, hooded by Dr. James Griffith. Aladdin John Timbayan, internal medicine and pediatrics, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by his parents, Dr. Aden and Victoria Timbayan. Jeremy Charles Toffel, Pediatrics, Creighton, Nebraska Health Foundation, Omaha, Nebraska, hooded by his father, Dr. Roger Toffel. Stephanie Renee Tayo, Family Medicine, University of Texas Health Science Center, Tyler, Texas, hooded by Dr. Norman Ferrari. Wesley Vosberg, Surgery, Allegheny General Hospital, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, hooded by Dr. James Griffith. Ryan John Wakeham, Psychiatry, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by Dr. Ann Cather. Jeremy Allen Walker, Anesthesiology, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by Dr. Norman Ferrari. Kevin Michael Walsh, Neurological Surgery, Cleveland Clinic Foundation, Cleveland, Ohio, hooded by his father, Dr. Timothy Walsh, and his father-in-law, Dr. Gary Morano, class of 1976. Lauren Patricia Westfall, Internal Medicine, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by Dr. Michael Craig, class of 2000, Department of Internal Medicine, Morgantown campus. Luann Yang, Pediatrics, Virginia Commonwealth University Health System, Richmond, Virginia, hooded by Dr. James Griffith. Sarah Lynn Zirkle, Pediatrics, West Virginia University School of Medicine, Morgantown, West Virginia, hooded by Dr. Norman Ferrari. At this time, would all recipients of the Doctor of Medicine degree please rise? Would the audience please join me in congratulating these graduates? Congratulations, and please be seated. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Shiel Anil Patel, class president from the Charleston Division campus, who brings to you the student response.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm here this morning to briefly try to explain to you how amazing this graduating class actually is. The last 4 years were undoubtedly the most difficult of our lives, and I think everyone up here would agree with me if I say that we could never have done it alone. So one more time, I'm going to ask you guys to stand with me. As we say to all the mothers and fathers, grandparents, uncles and aunts, brothers and sisters, to all the husbands and wives, children and friends that supported us through this incredibly difficult time. Without your support, we would not be standing here today. So for that, from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you. Doctors, you may be seated. Dr. Ferrari, Dr. Cather, I would like to congratulate you on putting together such a tremendous class. We come from small towns and big cities all across the country. We range in age from our early 20s to our beloved classmate Jeremy Walker, who I believe is on pace to qualify for Medicare benefits before becoming a full-time position. Some of us were Division I college athletes, and some of us still can't go down a slip and slide without getting hurt. Some of us have always wanted to be physicians. We knew it from the time we were little kids, and some of us weren't entirely sure, even at orientation. Our differences are endless. I could go on and on listing them, but I'll stop here because I'm absolutely certain that my good friend Ryan Morris has already fallen asleep. I bring up these differences to illustrate a very simple point. Although each member of the class of 2010 is unique, we have come together to form lifelong bonds. We have worked together, learned a great deal from one another, and collectively conquered countless obstacles. Whether that obstacle is something as simple as wiping that awful cadaver smell off of our skin, something as demanding as passing a final exam, or something as unsettling as waking up at 4:30 a.m. only to spend the next 12 hours listening to Dr. Maxwell explain to us in great detail just how inadequate we were, we did it together. My friends at other med schools are constantly complaining about a lack of camaraderie in their classes. I've heard all sorts of stories of students backstabbing, doing things to each other just to get ahead. But that's never been an issue with our class. We've always looked out for one another. Whether someone missed a lecture and needed notes, or someone was going through a personal situation, we were always there. I won't lie to you, there were a couple times during our second year when I seriously contemplated giving up. I was convinced that no career could be worth this much effort and sacrifice. And during these dark times, it wasn't the dream of becoming a physician that motivated me to press on. It was a fear of being separated from my classmates, the amazing individuals with whom I got to spend the little free time that we had. You see, over the last 4 years, I've come to know some of the most interesting and remarkable people that I've ever had the privilege of meeting. I know now what we gave up to become physicians was well worth it, but I may not have stuck around long enough to come to that realization without your help. So for that, I thank you. And I ask that you not let life change who you are, because the characteristics that make each of you great friends and outstanding people are the same traits that will propel you to become tremendous clinicians. I wish you nothing but luck in the future. Thank you.
Dr. James Griffith will now administer the Oath of Hippocrates.
Would the School of Medicine class of 2010 please rise? At this time, I invite the physicians in the audience and on stage who wish to reaffirm their oath of professionalism to also stand and recite with their new colleagues the Oath of Hippocrates. Please repeat after me. I do solemnly swear by whatever I hold most sacred, that I will be loyal to the profession of medicine, and just and generous to its members, that I will lead my life and practice my art in uprightness and honor, that into whatsoever home I shall enter, it shall be for the good of the sick and the well, to the utmost of my power, and that I will hold myself aloof from wrong and corruption, and from the tempting of others to vice, that I will exercise my art solely for the cure of my patients and the prevention of disease, and will give no drug and perform no operation for a criminal purpose, and far less suggest such a thing, that whatsoever I shall see or hear of the lives of men, which is not fitting to be spoken, I will keep inviolably secret. These things I do promise, and in proportion as I am faithful to this oath, may happiness and good repute be ever mine. The opposite if I shall be forsworn. Please join me in congratulating the class of 2010. You may be seated.
Dr. Kathy Funke-Morris is a graduate of the class of 1998 and president of the School of Medicine Alumni Association. She brings you greetings from the alumni.
Good morning, doctors. As representative of the Executive Council and 4,000 strong members of West Virginia University School of Medicine Alumni Association, I welcome you as a peer. We are mountaineers. To be a mountaineer means that you will continue the tradition and excellence that has been taught to you, instilled in you during these last 4 years on the Martinsburg, Charleston, or Morgantown campus. You will continue this in your professional and your personal lives. To be alumni means that you will have a home. The School of Medicine will always be your home. It will be there during your journey for the best and sometimes the most unfortunate things that occur. We will be here to support you. We will be here to celebrate with you. As you see in the program, it says, I'm to pass the torch. Dr. Kalinda makes me concerned that I will be passing the beer, since I do not have a coin. But the tradition of passing the torch is carrying the light of West Virginia University School of Medicine. You are a mountaineer. Celebrate.
Class of 2010, parents, family members, faculty and friends, and honored guests, please rise as we join together in singing the words of the West Virginia University alma mater, written in 1938 by WVU graduate student Lewis Corson. During the singing of the alma mater, doctors, it's customary for gentlemen to remove their caps. Thank you all. Please be seated. And thank everybody out there for joining us this morning. This has been a very, very special event. Congratulations again to the class of 2010. We ask that you all remain in your seats until all the stage party has left the auditorium. And after the procession, your graduates will meet you in front in the lobby with their diplomas in their hands. They're doctors now.